Hello students, it's me again, Sir Clint. We are here yet again to feed our curiosity in science. Hope we're all ready because for today, we will learn about percentage composition of a compound. Suppose that you had your third periodical exam in science. When you get a score of 85% in the examination, it means that you have answered 85% correctly or you have answered 85 items correctly in a 100 item exam. Another example to understand more is an instant coffee. Are you one of those coffee-slave person? Let's say for example that 3-in-1 coffee or instant coffee consists of coffee, sugar, and milk. One sachet of an instant coffee has 10 grams of coffee, 13 grams of sugar, and 12 grams of milk. The sum of these three ingredients will be 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee. Let us calculate the percentage composition of coffee, sugar, and milk in a 3-in-1 coffee sachet. 10 grams of coffee divided by 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee times 100% is 28.57. Our answer had already been rounded off to the nearest hundreds, so don't forget to round off your answers. Let's proceed to the 13 grams of sugar divided by stale 35 grams multiplied to 100% is 37.14, of which had already been rounded off to the nearest hundreds. Lastly, we have 12 grams of milk divided by 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee times 100%. Don't forget to round off your answer. So, the final answer is 34.29%. Summing up these products, the result is 100%. In the laboratory, you may perform experiments that will require you to prepare solutions or to verify the purity of substances. Thus, you need to know how to calculate the percentage composition of compounds, and this is our formula. Simply, percentage composition is a ratio of the amount of each element to the total mass of elements in a compound, multiplied with 100. Let's have an example. Ethanol, an alcohol obtained by fermenting the sugar in grapes, corn, and other fruits and drinks, with a chemical formula of C2H6O, is often added to gasoline as an octane enhancer to form a fuel called gasohol. Let us calculate the mass percentage of ethanol. Take note, students, that 1 mole of ethanol molecules consists of 2 mole of carbon atoms, 6 mole of hydrogen atoms, and 1 mole of oxygen atom. Now, let us calculate the percentage composition of ethanol. First, let us determine the molar mass. From its chemical formula, we know that it has 2 carbon atoms, 6 hydrogen atoms, and 1 oxygen atom. By looking at the periodical table of elements, therefore, you should have a copy of it. You can determine that the atomic mass of carbon is 12.01 gram per mole times 2 because we have 2 carbon atoms. The product is 24.02 gram per mole. The atomic mass of hydrogen, by looking at the periodic table of elements, is 1.008 gram per mole times 6 because we have 6 hydrogen atoms. The result is 6.048 gram per mole. Lastly, the atomic mass of oxygen is 16 grams per mole. Again, look at the periodical table of elements. We then multiply it by 1 since we only have 1 oxygen atom. The product is 16 gram per mole. To get the molar mass, let us add their products. And that is, not forget to round off your answer to the nearest hundredths. Therefore, the molar mass of ethanol, or C2H6O, will be 46.07 gram per mole. Now, let us calculate the mass percent. Let us start with mass percent of carbon. Using our formula, mass of carbon in 1 mole of ethanol divided by total mass of 1 mole of ethanol times 100%. If we put in the values, and that is 24.02 grams divided by 46.07 grams times 100% is 52.14%. Our answer have already been rounded off to the nearest hundredths. Now, let us proceed to the mass percent of hydrogen. Same process as we did with carbon. We have 6.048 grams divided by 46.07 grams times 100%. Our final answer, after that it has been rounded off to the nearest hundredths, is 13.14%. Lastly, we have the mass percent of oxygen. Same process as we did with carbon and hydrogen. The mass of oxygen is 16 grams divided by the total mass of ethanol, which is 46.07 times 100%, and round off to the nearest hundreds, the final answer is 34.73%. Bear in mind, the mass percent of all elements in a compound add up to 100%, although rounding off effects may produce small deviation. Adding up the percentages is a good way to check your final answer or to check your calculation. Let us try to visualize the percentage composition of ethanol with the use of a pie graph. As a summary, let us remember that the percentage composition is simply an expression of a compound's composition in terms of all elements present. You must know the molar mass of the element and the compound in order to get the percentage composition. In chemistry, percentage composition is important to analyze and to determine the empirical formula of a substance, which will be discussed in your higher years in science. And that's all for percentage composition of a compound. I hope you were able to understand well our lesson. Thank you once again for listening. This has been Sir Clint saying, continue to feed your curiosity in science.